So, it seems like we're in a bit of a crisis right now, and no one's able to leave their homes. As a person who plays RPGs, I don't go outside. However, I can empathize with those who want to go outside and miss whatever's out there. On a serious note though, it's a pretty lonely time for everyone right now. You can't go out and hang out with your friends, or even just go to places like the gym or the movies and go have fun. Luckily for you, I got my PhD in virginity, so I know all about some great games to keep you company during this time. Games are great at times like these, as they're not as passive as watching a movie, but they're not as active as actually doing something productive. It'll help keep you sane when the only other active things you can do are pace and scream within the confines of your home. Now, for a time like this, you probably want a nice, meaty game that you can sink hours and hours of time into without feeling bored. Well, look no further than the Japanese RPG market. Seriously, I don't think they're capable of releasing a game that's under 80 hours. It's just not possible. If you own a PS4 or Switch, there are plenty of great titles to choose from. Xbox not so much. My personal picks would be Dragon Quest XI and Persona 5, who could have seen that coming. I'm still running through Dragon Quest, but it's been a pretty fun romp so far. It feels like a nice wholesome cartoon or something, each of the arcs feeling like an episode, and the fantasy setting perfectly sells you in for a relaxing adventure through Dragon Quest's many locales. I won't spend too much time talking about Persona 5 because, you know, I do that a lot, but I will say that if I could somehow play through all of Persona 5 again, maybe with some updated features and palaces, I would love that. Oh. Yeah, Persona 5 Royal comes out on the 31st, so maybe hold off on buying the original. We'll probably still be stuck inside by the time it releases, so hey, perfect game for isolating yourself. Who needs friends when I have Anne and Makoto? If turn-based RPGs aren't your thing, however, you might like an endless simulation game. These games are typically more casual and have simple tasks, but are a great way to spend a few hours. Now, unless you somehow managed to avoid all of the internet for about a year now, the new Animal Crossing is about to release, or has already released by the time I make this video. Animal Crossing is one of the best games like this. It's super relaxing and just enjoyable to play. Running around collecting fruit, pulling weeds, talking to your neighbors, it's so cathartic. And especially during times like this, having a funky little mouse man talk to you helps quite a bit. I know I mentioned the new Animal Crossing, but honestly they're all pretty great. In my opinion, New Leaf on the 3DS is the best, but New Horizons is about to come out, so who knows, maybe that one will become my new favorite. Other than Animal Crossing, stuff like The Sims, Stardew Valley, and Harvest Moon are great options for that simple, relaxing vibe. Another great thing to do when stuck at home is learning something new. And there isn't a genre quite as rewarding to learn as fighting games. Fighting games take a lot of time and practice to become good at, and luckily, we have time in spades. It can be daunting choosing which fighting game to learn first, as they're all vastly different. From my experience, the best thing you can do is just pick whichever one looks the most interesting to you, as that'll actually incentivize you to learn it. This is easy if you're a weeb, as there are loads of fantastic anime fighting games out there, and many of them are beginner-friendly. Dragon Ball FighterZ, Grand Blue Fantasy Versus, and BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle are just a few great ones that I personally have played. If you're not as into the anime aesthetic, there's stuff like Injustice and Mortal Kombat, which are much more realistic. And if you're looking for more of an arcade experience, there are like a million Neo Geo fighting games on Switch. My personal favorite is Garo Mark of the Wolves, but there are plenty of great ones. But maybe you're on a budget. Spent too much on toilet paper and now you're short on video game cash? Happens to the best of us. If you want the most bang for your buck, compilations are a surefire way to get a lot of games at a cheap price. There are loads of compilations like these for all sorts of games, so it's kind of hard for me to recommend a few that everyone will like. So instead I'm just gonna go across the spectrum so that maybe one of these will stick with some of you. Mega Man has a ton of collections, from the originals all the way to ZX. If you've never played Mega Man before, these are a great way to get into the series. And if you have played Mega Man before, these collections are good for trying out some of the stranger titles in the series. The Ace Attorney trilogy is a fantastic way to experience the games on modern platforms. The sprites are updated to these nice HD artworks, and the controls have been adjusted well for consoles. Ace Attorney is a hard series to convince people on, since being a lawyer just doesn't sound that interesting. But trust me, these games are some absolute gems. If you don't mind some reading and love more traditional puzzle games, Try these out. The Uncharted collection is an absolute must-buy for PS4 owners. A collection of the first 3 Uncharted games for a cheap price that fixed the issues they had on PS3. These games are all fantastic, with great writing, fun story, and gameplay that keeps you on the edge of your seat. Highly recommend, especially if you have someone watching you play these, because these games are essentially movies. Now to rapid fire through some of these, the Crash N. Trilogy, Sega Genesis Classics, Kingdom Hearts 1.5 plus 2.5, Shovel Knight Treasure Trove, Namco Museum. These are all great collections that you can pick up on the cheap. And those were just a few games that you can indulge yourself in during this time. On a serious note, please take care of yourselves, stay informed, stay safe, wash your hands, stay inside, and most importantly, don't be stressed out. It's easy to worry with all the news and panic going around, but you gotta keep in mind that it's not the end of the world. Things will get better, this virus will die out, and then we'll move on. For now though, just try to enjoy yourselves, play some Animal Crossing, and stay safe. Peace.